back to another video of Super Movie Ninja! And I have no movies to review today. So sorry. Unless I reviewed The Goonies or Jurassic Park in 3D. But I'm pretty sure you already know about those movies, so for another time. But I had a really great idea. And I thought this idea would be fun for me to make and for the viewer to watch. I've lately noticed that a lot of YouTubers online are ranking movies that have come out this year so far because it's halfway through the year. Well, when I was noticing that, it was halfway through the year. Now it's more than halfway through the year. So I figured to hop on that train, both a different thing, a Super Movie Ninja thing. I now bring you folks Goku the Oscars with raspys. So, this is my Oscars for Goku, because my name still Goku. So, Goku's the Oscars. So this will be including like Best Animated Picture, and Best Comedy, and then the raspys, which is Worst Animated Picture or Worst Comedy, and so on. So without further ado, let's get started. Best Animated Movie of the Year for me goes to the Super Mario Bros. Movie. This movie was definitely the best animated movie that has came out this year. This has really been a year that we have not gotten any really good animated movies. For example, Elemental, where it's not a bad movie, it's just not a good movie, because it has no story. Then we get Kraken. It's a fine movie, but it's nothing special. Then we have Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Bad animation. Then we have TMNT Mutant Mayhem. That was a close second, but I just love everything about the Mario movie. I give it to the Mario movie. It does everything right. Chris Pratt does everything right. It's a funny, enjoyable movie from beginning to end. Something everyone should at least see once. Then, Worst Animated Movie of the Year, you guessed it, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. What makes this movie so bad is the animation. I wouldn't say the story is bad, but the story is generic now. We've seen this story so many times in No Way Home and The Flash in such a more intriguing way. No Way Home had all the fan service, and it had all of the villains, and it really just had a good plot about going through grief and what it means to be Spider-Man. This just feels like an animated version of that. And this is almost as long as that. What was the purpose of this movie? To give you bad animation? To make people think this is good animation? I don't know. The only thing I like about it is that it gave Gwen Stacy some more screen time than the last movie. Then, we're going into comedy movies. Best Comedy Movie of the Year for me goes to Champions. Champions is a movie that I have not reviewed yet, but I saw in the theater, and it was definitely the movie I needed that day. Stars Woody Harrelson. Can't really go wrong with Woody Harrelson ever, and it's just an overall really enjoyable film. It's funny from beginning to end. There's jokes that just make you want to roll on the floor, and everything about it is just a delight from start to finish. And for me, that's the best comedy movie of the year. If you haven't seen this very underrated movie so far, definitely go and see it. You're really missing out on what could be the funniest comedy movie of the year. Then, for worst comedy movie of the year, Barbie. Now, Barbie is nowhere near a comedy, but when I look up the Barbie movie, Barbie 2023 film, this is a summary reason why I see comedy and drama. I can say it's a drama, but it's definitely not a comedy. But I did think that it should be put as the worst comedy movie of the year. Barbie is just a psychological, disturbing film in general. Nothing about is comedic or enjoyable. It's a very terrible movie. Half the movie is spent in the real world. Why can't we spend a Barbie movie in Barbie Land? It makes no sense, this entire movie. By the way, this is not a review on any of these movies. This is just my opinion on these movies and my little Oscar and raspys that I made for these movies. It's just a little fun thing. I didn't feel the need to make this video, but I thought it would be fun, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let's keep moving on. So the best fantasy movie of the year is Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves. Another movie I haven't reviewed yet, but I have seen this movie in the theater. Now, this is a very enjoyable fantasy movie. It has everything you'd want from a fantasy movie. And with something extra, comedy. It's a very funny movie. I really enjoyed my time with the movie. And it never feels like it overstayed its welcome, even though it is over 2 hours long. It actually feels like it understayed its welcome. It's so funny, and everything about it is great. There's things you don't see coming in the movie, and it's definitely way better than what you'd expect. I'd recommend you see it if you haven't seen it, because I know a lot of people never went to go see this movie. But it's a great movie, and I hope you can see it one day now that it's on Paramount+. Now, for the worst fantasy movie of the year, The Little Mermaid. I figured this has to count as a fantasy movie, seeing how it's set underwater. Fun fact, you can't breathe underwater and live your whole life underwater unless you're a mermaid. That's pretty fantasy right there. And there's a sea witch. It's one of the most fantasy things you can get. And it's a terrible movie, The Little Mermaid. This movie does everything wrong. It takes what could have been a good live-action movie and just makes it dull and depressing, practically. And nothing about it is good. The acting's uninspired, and I've never wondered what Tryon does in his free time. That's how you know there's something wrong with this movie, and only this movie. Another thing terrible about it is just the dullness of it. It looks like you've been cutting and pasting and gluing and stuff in kindergarten. That's what it looks like. But I would give it some slack if it was made by kindergartners. But this is Disney. I think it is the richest company in the world. What's the richest company in the world 2023? Okay, so it's Apple, but still, Disney's one of them. I know if you looked up for 2022, it was the richest company of 2022. But still, how can Disney put out such a terrible movie and call themselves a good company? It just feels shameful. Then, the best superhero movie of the year, The Flash. I had a really tough time picking between The Flash and Blue Beetle, but I thought it had to go to The Flash. The Flash is everything I expected and more. It's a delight from beginning to end. You really get to go in depth about the Flash and the Flash's Flashpoint paradox, and it's overall just a great movie. You see, Flashpoint paradox is probably the most famous Flash comic. I've read a bit of it, and it's definitely very intriguing. This feels like the Flashpoint paradox, but for live action. What makes this film so good is it really goes in depth about the murder of his mother and all of that, and it really shows that Barry going through this grief right away. We don't have to sit and getting a whole origin story, because we already know that from Justice League. We also get Michael Keaton's Batman again in it, and our first iteration of Supergirl since 1979, and no one liked it. So, it's definitely a good movie. I'd recommend it. I don't know why people don't like this, and CGI is actually good. I believe we would be looking like, I believe we would see everything like this if we were for Barry's eyes. Not everything has to be the level of Avatar. The worst superhero movie of the year, Shazam! Fury of the Gods, aka Shazam 2, aka one of the worst movies I've seen in my entire life. Now, I was almost going to give it to Across the Spider-Verse, but then I realized that would be shameful to Across the Spider-Verse. This is way worse than Across the Spider-Verse. There's nothing good about it. It tries to rehash old jokes from the original that are good in the original, but here they're just lame rehashes. They try to do action, and it's not even a well-made movie. And the action they try to do just doesn't feel right. It feels right in the first one what they do, because you can tell for that character is the right thing. This just feels like if DC owned 4 and wanted to make a bad 4 movie. Seriously, I'm not joking. Never see Shazam! Fury of the Gods if you want to have a successful life. Then, the best sci-fi movie of the year, and really the only, Transformers: Rise of the Beasts. This movie, honestly, one of the greatest, if not the greatest Transformers movie yet. It does everything I love about Transformers: Rise of the Beasts and puts it into live action. The stakes feel high, and you're cheering for something that's not just fan service. You're actually cheering for something in this movie that feels like it's for the story. And I'm not gonna spoil that, but once it happens, you know it happens. So, it's just overall an amazing movie. It definitely is the best Transformers movie, in my opinion, besides Bumblebee. Keep in mind, I haven't seen all of them, but I've seen glimpses of all of them. So, this one was definitely a very good movie. I've seen this in the theater 3 times, and each time there's a little more to enjoy about it. So, without further ado, let's go to the next movie. The best action movie of the year is easily Fast X. I was going to put Gran Turismo on this spot, but I'm pretty sure Gran Turismo is not an action movie. So, here we go. Fast X. Fast X is adrenaline pumping in everywhere, in every way. And it's adrenaline pumping in some of the best ways, too. You'd have to see it to believe it. You can't just hear how adrenaline pumping is and believe it's that adrenaline pumping. You really have to see it. And Vin Diesel, he's just Vin Diesel. Then, for the best spy thriller movie of the year, Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning. This movie is a delight from start to finish. Everything about it is great, and it has really serious callbacks to the first. So definitely know that you have to see the first one. I've only seen the first, second, and Dead Reckoning now, but this is already, in my opinion, my favorite one. This one amps up the stakes with somehow the craziest stunt in movie history, probably. Like I said, it also has callbacks to the first one, the Amsterdam Bridge and stuff, and it's just great. You should really see it before Sal fears. My favorite movies of the year have been Gran Turismo and The Flash so far. The reason why these are my favorite movies of the year is, if you heard my movie on Gran Turismo, I was very pleasantly surprised. I saw the trailers for Gran Turismo, and I thought, this is going to be an enjoyable movie, but I didn't expect it to be what it was. I saw this movie over a month early, in an early access, and it was great. Now I've seen it a second time, still just as great. And The Flash, well, you've already heard me praise The Flash enough times. So, I hope you see all of those movies that I said are great, and I hope you don't see any of those movies that I say are bad. Before I get off, make sure to smash that like button, hit that subscribe button, and ring that notifications bell so you never miss a video. Without further ado, Super Movie Ninja is out!